Annual Plan 2020 is the last call that Shift2Rail will launch, most probably. It might be that we'll have some leftover, let's call like this, and we can launch maybe some minor call at the end of 2020, early 2021. But in principle, this is the last call we'll be launching. It's based on 3 simple concepts. The first one, we want to achieve TRL 7 as much as we can. Maybe TRL 9 when we can achieve it. And meaning we want to go to demo results. I think this is a clear objective. The catalog solution that we have just published in October in WCRR is only a part of all the expectations that we have on the program. We need to provide all the elements to the agency, as also Mr. Doppelbauer has indicated, to ensure that we innovate the rail system. So the first principle is this. We want to push rail research innovation at the boundaries. The second is that we want to show it. And we want to show it in InnoTrans 2020, so next year, and in InnoTrans 2022. And by then, we hope also that the next Shift2Rail program will be started so that we can phase in the new research innovation activity. So this will be a categorical position for us. We want to have demonstration plan, exploitation plan, into which we don't have events between ourselves, because we hope we know what we are talking about, but we are able to communicate to the people what we are wanting to achieve. We need to fill the gap between a major European Union program and the traveler of every day in a commuter line, in the cold, in the uncomfortable situation, without availability of trains. This has to change. So this is the second principle we want to have in the annual plan. The third one is we are looking also new ideas. And for example, you will see there is a reference to new land-guided systems. It's a small amount for activities. In the annual plan 2020, not in the call, there will be also a prize for a logic of a train ID, to have one single train ID for all Europe based on some algorithm, combining together different vehicles, for example, in the case of freight and so on and so on. So we have also some requests of answer to the call that are bridging towards the next program. So the 3 principles: hire TRL, deliver the demonstrators, show them with a clear exploitation plan, and third, new ideas that will help us to bridge the programs. So this is the logic of the annual plan 2020. In terms of funding, well, the colleague will explain it, but we are always following the logic of around 70%, 30%. So in the open call, we have around 20 million euros available. And we have a combination of innovation action and research innovation action, like it happens often. Fundamentally will be the collaboration with between what we call the open call and the members. The Shift2Rail program is an integrated program. So don't limit yourself to the regulatory framework defined in the grant agreement. The grant agreement is there to protect the know-how, to protect the work that is done, but is not a barrier to the collaboration. The barrier of collaboration is not what we want to achieve. We need to be sure that we protect the APRs, we protect the know-how, we protect and recognize the work is done, but fundamentally we need to collaborate, because as the Shift2Rail program is integrated, it is integrated because the railway system is fully integrated. It is a system of systems. As we discussed with Joseph, we are looking at a full functional system architecture. We are looking at the sector working together, and this is also the ecosystem we have built together with Shift2Rail is something that is a fundamental component of the capacity to deliver. And 2020, as I said before, is also the beginning of a decade, and it's quite interesting because I believe we have really in front of us 5 to 7 years. That is the mandate of the president, the new president-elect, with the first mandate she has, to deliver a change in the rail system. And when I talk about rail system, I talk about high speed, I talk about the freight business, I talk about the urban rail. These will be the three areas into which more and more attention will be given also in the possible next Shift to Rail program. And why this? Because if you look at geographically a continent, a European continent, you have people and goods coming in by air or maybe by shipping, distributed with high-speed network and an interconnected, completely integrated network for freight, and distributed at local level by efficient urban rail transport integrated with the other in a multimodal approach. This is the logic we want to achieve. So also the call we are now launching is built around this type of logic. Okay? And this is where we want to bring the next program also. So the 2020 will be really a transition here. It will be a transition year because it will help us to finalize the current program. And you will see that most of the cases we made reference, there is a sentence in all the projects that we want to complete the projects in a time frame of 24 to 30 months, because if we start the work in, let's say, September 2020, we'll finish the work around the end of 2022. Shift to Rail 2 will start in 2021. We'll have an exit phase and a ramp-up phase. And this will allow to have a smooth transition between the two programs. I think the major ambition we want to have is the impact. We need to move from the output concept to see the results in the railways operations. And this is a major change we want to bring also in the Shift to Rail 2, is that in the short period of time, we want to bring the results inside the rail system. The other ambition that we have, and we start already with the annual plan 2020, is inclusiveness. We need to integrate what today is not represented in Shift to Rail. We have large part of Europe. We can show the statistics. If you look at the statistic of the call, you will see immediately. We have a curve that is done like this, where we have on this part, the high side, West Europe, and part of South Europe, and on the other side, we have eastern part of Europe. So we want to be sure that we look at the full integrated continent, especially for freight. Because as we are looking, goods are coming from east part of the world inside Europe, and we need to be sure that the European network is fully connected, and we want to be sure that goods produced inside Europe are exported around the world. So these are really the key principles that are driving the Annual Plan 2020. And I think now, after the break, Giorgio will present it now. We'll start to give a bit of flavor about the content of the Annual Plan 2020. And after the presentation of Giorgio, we'll have the break for around 10-15 minutes. Giorgio, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Carlo. Hello, everybody. I'm going to take the little tool here. Let's see if it's working. Yes. So, it's the 5th time that I'm presenting the Info Day and more or less the same information. So maybe the first question is, do somebody already saw this slide? Okay, not so many persons, so it's still worth that I continue to talk. So, Shift to Rail, you have heard about the objectives, the strategic objectives of Shift to Rail, the context under which it sits. And here what I'm presenting to you is a bit the guideline of how to navigate inside all those politics and at the same time inside of the program of Shift to Rail. So Shift to Rail starts with having a master plan that you can download in our website, and this master plan defines the high-level objectives for Shift to Rail, what we need to achieve by 2030. But this is an high-level document that shows the inspiration of the Union, that is brought down into a program annual program, multi-annual program, let's say, that is the multi-annual action plan. So inside of the multi-annual action plan that you can also download on a website, you can find the detail of the program. And the detail has been divided into two parts. So you can download the part A, which is the more visionary view of how the development of Shift2Rail will enhance the railway system in Europe. And the part B, which is more the technical content, which in the case also of your reply to the call is probably the one you want to look at a bit more. In there you can find the innovation program of Shift2Rail, and actually I think yes, there is this nice picture which shows the innovation program of Shift2Rail. You will hear my colleagues later on explaining all the work that is currently ongoing in each of innovation program, and more in particular focusing on the development linked to the topics that will be launched this year. But it basically represents the entire areas of the rail system. So we have rolling stock, we have signaling and communication, infrastructure, energy, all the maintenance stuff. We have information for passenger. We have a concept of multimodality. We have a concept of freight business, and also activities which are transversal like energy and noise. But this is the multi-annual action plan. So it's the complete work of Shift2Rail, which we divide in annual work plans. And this year, as Carlo mentioned, is the last bit to complete the activities of the multi-annual action plan. And so in the annual work plan 2020, you will find topics that will then result in projects. So this is your reading messages, okay? So I started on the other way around, but you will probably start with looking at the annual work plan, and then later on, what is the global context. So the Shift2Rail MAP, as you have understood, is the long-term investment planning document. It's a living document, so you will find on the Shift2Rail website it's written draft, but it's actually still a draft because it needs some editorial. But it has been approved as such by our governing board for the MAP Part B. In the annual work plan 2020, Carlo already mentioned, for the open calls, we have assigned 20 million euros. And what are these open calls? Are basically topics. You will find the topics that are open to non-member. And there are topics that are open only to the members. So this is the distinction we have done, mainly for administrative reason, let's say, because Shift2Rail as a public-private partnership have some member, and those members have to contribute to a certain amount and therefore have a dedicated budget, and the non-member have another budget. And you can see that the non-member, they contribute less in kind. So most of the activities are funded 100%. You can see that there is 20 million euros put on the table by the European Union, by the joint undertaking, and 2.8 million euros that are not non-funded, okay? On what? On 11 topics. And those topics you will see later on, well, the colleagues will present them. Carlo already mentioned we have also other type of way to finance the program. And so we will launch 4 call for tender and 3 call for tender and 4 prices. So this slide is just there because, well, you will have outside as well. It's in our website. It's everywhere. But it's just for you to know who are our members. Why? Because if you want to apply to the open calls, okay, to the topics for the non-member, you cannot have in your consortium a member or an affiliated entity of the member. So this is one of the rules. Then for more discussion, we will have this afternoon also a legal table that will be able to explain to you exactly what this means. So the other specificities are all let's say, easily detectable on the call itself, but you just need to know how to read them. And I don't have a pointer, but you can see there on the slides that we first have the definition of who can apply, open call or call for member. And we abbreviate that with OC or CFM. So if you are not a member, usually you will participate in an open call. If you are a member, you will participate in a member call. The second part is the areas, so the cross-cutting activity in this case. In other time, you will have IP1, IP2, IP3, IP4. This will also be helpful for you later on to navigate in the multi-annual action plan. And then we simply have the topic number, which is just a progression number. Then you have the TRL level. Also, this is very much important because it's what Carlo mentioned before. It's the ambition we would like you to reply to. And in the next slide, I will show you what are those TRL levels, so you have a reference. What we expect is that you reach at least this TRL level. You can go farther, okay? You cannot come, of course, with a market-ready solution because then there will be no innovation in this case. But, so this is a metrics for you to manage it. And the independent evaluator that we will use to evaluate your proposal will also check this. Then research and innovation action, and actually we also have this year a coordination and support action. Also there, I suggest if you have some doubt to discuss with our legal team that will be there. But the main principle is that research and innovation action funded 100% plus 25% overhead. Innovation action 70% of eligible cost plus 25% overhead. Both of those needs to have 3 partners from 3 different countries associated to or part of H2020. So these are the classical rules of H2020. And you can see that this year we're already covering most of the IPs. For the open call this year, we will not be cover IP5, but you will still have from my colleague a presentation of the IP5 activities so that you know where we are. So this is the technological readiness level. It's the definition that you can find in H2020. Again, the framework under which we operate is based on the rules of H2020. You have a TRL 1 to 9. Most of our activities goes to TRL 7. Just for easing the concept, if you're not familiar with it, we have also provided, let's say, a different way to show this TRL level, because sometimes, you know, it's difficult to identify. Am I really TRL 2 or 3? Am I really TRL 5 or 6? It's not that much important, but you just need to understand that basic technology research, it's around TRL 1, 2. Feasibility, proof of feasibility, 2, 3. Technology development, it's about 4, 5, 3, 4. Technological demonstration, you go TRL 5, you can even reach 7. And then you have some subsystem development and system development tested already in operational environment, and this is TRL 7. Carlo already mentioned, we have, and also John mentioned it, that's the big difference that we have in Shift2Rail, is that the project per se are just an instrument, are not per se self-standing. Each project feed with other projects to the achievement of the multi-annual action plan and the master plan. So this is very much important, therefore that projects collaborate one with each other. And for this, what we have done is that we have defined a complementarity. And this complementarity is defined at topic level. So when you will read, or maybe I hope that you have already looked at the annual work plan, but you will see that in the topics themselves, there is a little point which called complementarity, and we say project 1 is complementary to project 2, for example. And this is a compulsory complementarity. It will be later on reflected in your grant agreement, so you know upfront. So when you submit your proposal, take this into account. Often you don't know yet with which consortium you will be complementary because it may be a call for member ongoing, okay? But you already know the subject because you can read the call for member. So you don't duplicate the same activities and bring forward your willingness to work together with the other project and maybe already start to think how this work can work. So in Shift2Rail, because we have this program approach, we have IP steering committee. And this IP steering committee, it's a point where we will ask you, if you are winning a proposal, to come and to present the status of the project and what are the blocking points, what are the technological issues, so that we can solve it at systematic level. And also we can find synergies between project and we don't duplicate activities. And so you will be called we have a steering committee every 3 months, more or less every 3 or 6 months to provide a status of the project. And your central contact point are the program manager. You will be asked to do a collaboration agreement, which is just a legal document supporting the collaboration. What is important is that in there you define who is doing what and when, basically, and how. How you are going to exchange deliverables, how you are going to exchange information between projects. So these will be done later on once the project is accepted, but so you already know that this will be something that you will have to work on. And also you will see that in the topic itself, sometimes we also indicate timing for expected indicative timing for deliverables. Okay, and this is done because we need to synchronize project A with project B. Okay, and then let me conclude this before before the break, and then handing over to later on the program manager with a bit of status of where we are and the novelties that we have introduced towards the end, because as you know now, this theoretically is the last call. We may have potentially few more activities to be done, but in terms of Shift2Rail 1, the multi-annual action plan is closed. And so what we have seen is that we have launched many activities around the innovation program. We're expecting very much demonstration activities, so results coming out. We have the catalog of solutions. So we see basically the building blocks coming in. And we call that building blocks because this is what it is. So we are working on subsystem to level up the entire rail system to a certain level that allow us to make a change. And to make this change, we need now to integrate all those stuff because the rail is a system of systems, so we need to bring together the triangle of operation, signal communication, infrastructure, maintenance, and the train. So what we have done the past years, it's already a couple of years that we do two things. So we launch groundbreaking activities or innovative activities, low TRL, blue sky, call them how you want, but we need the concept for the future. Okay, so we're building the building blocks, but we already need to think to the future. And later on also the colleagues will present you what we have done in this area that we call IPX. But also we need to think how do we integrate all of that together. And also there is something that we are not able, anybody, to do it today, is to assess the system in its entirety and to enhance the global performance. We're very good in enhancing a local performance, a subsystem, and this is also what we are financing. But now what we are doing, and we want to do it with you, is to enhance the global system. And looking at the global optimum, sometime maybe, I guess, we will discover that we need to sacrifice the local optimum. And so for this, what we have done is that we have launched a program this year that is just starting in December, which is called Links for Rail, which is looking into this system architecture that Carlo mentioned, which is fundamental because we need to understand how to distribute the function and how to operate, especially in the future, the system in Europe. And hopefully, maybe this is a first step to have European type of operation. And then the second thing that we're doing within this system architecture approach is to model it, because we have a lot of digital information going around, and even more with the technologies that we're introducing in Shift2Rail. And the sector also have many models under which they use this type of information. But the problem is that this type of information is isolated. It's not brought together. And so what we want to do is a conceptual data model that provide the linkage between these different models to the benefit of the sector, and out of it also new business cases probably will emerge. And with this...
Thank you, Giorgio. Any questions before we break for coffee? No? Okay. Well, I would like... I don't see, yeah. I would like only to mention something about what Giorgio says about the participation. So you know the difference, our member cannot participate in the open calls, and if we have also affiliated entities and so on, so be careful about this. But there is another way that you can work with our member in the call for member, is to become their link third party. Most of you have agreements with our member companies beyond the duration of a project, so you can propose yourself to work together with them as link third party, meaning as subcontractor in some cases, or at the same level with the same type of conditions. So don't forget that also this is a possibility. So on top of the open call, this is always an open possibility to work together with the members. And now I leave Caroline for the coffee.
Thank you so much. I think we actually just had one question over here.
Yeah. I want to ask what happened with the IP5 for the open calls this year. Why there is no funding for the IP5 this year? Thank you.
There is no funding, so you are somewhere there. Yes. No, it's not that there is no funding.
The open call.
Exactly. In reality, we still have the members doing the job, but we didn't have any needs for further activities that will complement what the members have engaged themselves to do since the creation of Shift2Rail. So actually, all the TDs, and you will see later on from Manuel the presentation of the different TDs, they had since the beginning a planning where we didn't have OC, and every year we have presented, let's say, a bit the status and the activity. So yeah, we don't have any more activity. We hope, and then Carlo mentioned it, and I hope that you will help us in achieving that we will have a Shift2Rail 2, and in a Shift2Rail 2, I think that freight will play a big role. So hopefully next year, or maybe a little bit later, we can announce something more.